Well, now Mark Barnes, Executive Chairman of the Purple Group, to discuss his appointment as CEO of the Post Office. A very good afternoon to you, Mark, and congratulations.
It is a good afternoon. Yeah, thank you.
Well, you've been part of a group of businessmen, that's private businessmen, really lobbying the government to make a plan for the Post Office. So
Yeah.
it's been a long time coming, would you say?
It has. I mean, I first engaged with government probably 9 months ago or more than that. And I've always tried to put forward the case that in South Africa, we will need government, business and labour to find a way to work together to, realise the dream and the underlying economic growth that we need for the transformation that we're trying to do. And so I'm delighted that they've seen fit, and I'm grateful that they've seen fit to give me an opportunity to serve my country and to bring a completely objective business approach to what I think is an extraordinary asset called the Post Office.
And we know that the Post Office has got a lot of pressures facing it. It's battling to pay suppliers, staff. It's been surviving by borrowing money. How are you planning to turn this Post Office around?
All of that is a consequence of the same thing. It's an outdated business model that's in place at the Post Office. The debate has been about how we rationalize it, cut jobs, cut back points of representation. I don't think you fix an outdated business by making it a smaller version of itself. Okay, you just have a smaller outdated business. And if you look at the world experience, mail revenues are more like 30%, ours is more like 70%. And if you look at the opportunities that an installed base with a massive client base, with a massive client database, what could they do? And you start talking about logistics, you start talking about financial services, you start talking about, banking the unbanked, you start talking about administering the grants, the social grant system, you start thinking about, well, could you start, distributing antiretrovirals at post offices instead of having people? And so you start looking at an infrastructure that's in place, bought and paid for, that's not profitable, not because the people there aren't necessarily keen to do what they do, but because there's a limited definition of what they can do. Okay, so I'm talking expansion and growth rather than restraint and contraction. Okay, and so over that same cost base, I think you can wash a lot more revenue. I mean, examples come to mind where competitors have thrived because of the weakness of the Post Office. So, for example, you will pay a huge multiple to have a courier company deliver your cell phone to Pretoria than you would pay the Post Office, because you want to make sure it arrives there on time and intact. We can do that in the Post Office if we believe. Okay, and so I think people that work there, given a realistic and ambitious economic outlook, will get back to work and do it. And I hope I can persuade them. And everyone needs to. We need economic dignity. Okay, as a first step, we need people to want to get up in the morning and go to work for a place that they believe is successful and is going to grow and accommodate their aspirations. Well, the Post Office doesn't look like a place like that now. But if I describe it to you in the way that I have described it to government in terms of its possibilities and its inbuilt capacity, you start believing that it could be a fantastic place. And I don't speak in isolation of things like the Japanese Post Office was the biggest listing in Japan this year. Okay, and I'm not for a minute suggesting we're going the route of listing or anything like that, but there are seriously successful Post Office-based economic strategies that have worked, and I hope to bring that and infuse it into what we've got.
Let's talk about timelines. How long are you looking to perhaps seeing the Post Office turning a profit?
Well, I think the first 6 months will be listen and consolidate and listen to everybody, listen to all the stakeholders, try and understand what everyone wants from the bottom up, and absorb that and digest it. There's been a lot of work done already. The STP, the turnaround plan, the strategic turnaround plan, is good work and solid work. I've read its document this thick, and a lot of that stuff we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to listen, and we're going to. And I would say in about 6 months we'll know what we're doing. In about 18 months you'll see the first green shoots of what we're doing. You'll start seeing commercial engagement of the Post Office, with private enterprise. And in about 3 years' time, the proof of concept should be there. And then maybe in 5 years' time, we're making tons of money and having fun. Yeah, I would say it's those kind of time. 18 months proof of concept, 3 years, it's working in steady ship. This is not a plan which is premised on continued government support going forward. Okay, I'm not looking for us to, over time to need government guarantees and their support. This must be a business which stands on its own feet, raises its own capital, develops its own people.
I wish we had a lot of time to chat about
Yeah,
this.
me
Well,
too.
all the best, Mark. Thank
Well.
you so much for joining us. Mark Barnes, Executive Chairman of the Purple Group.